two, 1 2. 1 2. Are you getting something? Testing 1 2. Testing.
Spinello, you ready? Shall we start the stream? All right, good morning. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I know that there was a little bit of a delay this morning with traffic, and we have waited a bit, but we do have an online audience as well, so we are going to have to get going. But thank you all for taking the time to join us this morning. I am Jonathan from W&RSETA, one of the insurers who is partnering on this program, the other being OneShow, represented by Jean at the back there. We are very excited to be a part of this program. So between the two of us, we represent the leading insurers in the fuel retail space. And I can tell you that we are very excited to promote skills development within our fuel industry and also to get some benefits back for our retailers as well. It's definitely a massive positive impact on our industry, and we hope that you all enjoy the content that we have for you today, and hopefully you can become a part of this program as well. So just before we get started, some logistics. We've got our bathrooms if you head out there and to the left. There's a smoking area downstairs as well. We are going to look to be having a break at around 11 o'clock for coffee, so don't stress if your coffee is running low. You will have an opportunity to refill. And if I could just ask, please, if we do have any questions for the speakers, if we could keep it for the end of their presentations. Just for this being a live stream, we would prefer it if the speakers aren't interrupted to answer questions while they are busy with their presentations. Just a reminder to all of you here, this is, as W&RSETA and One, this is a free benefit that we are allowing for all of our policy holders. So if you do have an insurance policy with either of us, there will be an opportunity to sign up at the back. We really do encourage you to be a part of this program. There are massive benefits for yourselves as retailers and, of course, the skills within our industry, which we will be running through shortly. Okay, so without any further ado, I would like to call up Spinello Mbata, one of the co-founders of PetroConnect, for our opening. Thanks, Spinello.
Thank you, Jonah. This is the part where you're supposed to clap, guys. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, and good morning to all our esteemed guests, as well as the online audience. I believe that there's people logging on all over the country, and some are probably still trying to log on. This is our third installment of this initiative, the Skills Development Program Awareness Campaign. We started in Durban, went down to Cape Town, and this is the final one today here in Johannesburg. And it has been amazing. And how basically this came about is, so for those of you that don't know PetroConnect, you're more than welcome to just log in online and probably read more about us. And I'm not here to really give you a whole long speech about PetroConnect, but very high level. Mark and I are dealers ourselves, and for many years, we've always been training our staff, and but we only looked at just one section of training, and more like skills development, which is really great. Getting our petrol attendants trained, your customer service, and all that kind of stuff. But I think very much later in our, dealership operations, and we then started knowing more about the SETAs, more particularly the W&RSETA, who is our primary SETA in the fuel retail sector. It was really at that time when we, the more we started to know about learnerships, that it's not just about free labor, and I think many dealers, we just get excited at getting free labor, but we tend to miss on some of the critical benefits that have been put in place by our government through the likes of SARS and so forth and so on. And therefore, we then tried these things, as we empowered ourselves and learned and inquired. And over the past few years, we started learning more about the benefits of all these things, skills development, the learnerships, and. And it was really at that time when, our eyes literally were lit open. And then I think as a business model, PetroConnect really, everything that we do is something that we have tried ourselves. And when we try something and it works, there is a time when we say, hey, Mark, it actually works. How about we tell all other dealers? So we really are very much about empowering other dealers, but not from a theory perspective, more from a practical perspective where we've tried and tested things. And I hope today is really going to give you that opportunity to learn some of the things that we have learned and to walk with us through the journey and to see the benefits that we've actually seen over the years. And I'm sure many of you here and online, if you're a dealer, one of your biggest headaches, I think the 2 periods in a year that you dread the most is after the 28th of Feb, when you see how much you're going to pay SARS, and August, when they tell you your provisional tax. And that's the biggest headache for every dealer. And I can tell you now that many dealers have had to go and either go to the bank and get an extra overdraft or get a loan so you can pay your income tax. And it's true. But how about if we tell you that there are legal means and ways for you to actually knock off all that tax liability and you don't go to jail for it? Yeah? And those are kind of things that we obviously want to share today. And I would like to also just acknowledge our partners, our biggest partners here and sponsors, which is Wholesale and Retail SETA. Thank you very much. And we also have One Shore. They rebranded to One. I know John's going to kill me. We're not one show, we won. So, and we also have Garage Show, of course. Jono, thank you. And we have Nedbank, who've also been very good partners of ours. We will have SARS as well. Please don't run away. They are, today they're not coming for compliance and checking anything. And the good thing also is that the parking lots are not here, so they're not going to see your cars and all that. So you're quite safe. And we also would like to acknowledge all our online audience as well. Jono, thank you very much, and I hope you guys are going to have and take this opportunity and make good use of it. Obviously, our partnership, as Jono said earlier, we have had this strategic partnerships, and if you are with one or you are with Garage Show, some of these things will be free to you. So instead of actually paying PetroConnect for some of these services, you can get those for free. But even those that are deciding to sign up today, you will also get to save some of the money back into your pockets. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Bonelo. Yeah, so I would also just like to say on our side that PetroConnect is a fantastic industry stakeholder, and we really value the partnership with you guys and what you bring to the industry, so thank you for that. Yes, so there is a financial component to this initiative, and you will all benefit as retailers, but one of the core focuses today is also to look at the skills development. How can we empower our staff at service stations? How can we improve their lives, improve their management capacity, and just contribute to our own workforces? So to talk us through that, I'm going to call up Martha Shingange from W&RSETA, the Head of Communication and Stakeholder Engagement, and she's going to talk us through that aspect of the W&RSETA initiative. Thank you, Martha.
Thank you so much, Jonathan, Mr. S. Thank you so very much, Mark. It's always a pleasure. Look at Mark looking so busy. Hey, I'm talking to you. A very good morning to you, Johannesburg. Josie, how are you? Are you good? Guys, we've saved the best for last, so you really need to give me some energy. Can we do that? Awesome, awesome. This is the third, as Mr. Mbatai indicated. So this is the grand finale of a marketing campaign or an awareness campaign that we have embarked on in partnership with PetroConnect. So as their name goes, they connect. So they were the right partners when we looked at our strategy in terms how are we as a SETA reaching out to all of our stakeholders. And we looked at the fuel retail, which is a very important industry in South Africa because you are the industry that keeps South Africa moving, like literally. So we realized that there are a few of you who are not actively participating. I think he spoke about tax rebates, but there's a whole lot of other benefits that you are probably not aware of. And for us, it could not be that we could just stand by. And as much as we like the fact that if you're not claiming your money, we actually get to use it on other programs, but we also know that there are a whole lot of opportunities that we are missing by not having you fully participating on our programs. So that is how the partnership really came about. PetroConnect is one of our biggest stakeholders in the fuel retail space. So we had a chat with them, and I said, guys, I need help. I'm able to get to my other regular retailers, the ShopRites of this world. It's easy to get to them. But the people in the, on the palms there, they're a bit of a problem. How do we get to them? And obviously collaborations, and at the W&RSETA, we always say that there is power in collaboration. So it made sense that we get connected with PetroConnect, and that is why we are here today for our very last session. And hopefully we'll be able to scale this up to other provinces because this was a pilot. We just wanted to check, is it gonna work? Are you going to pitch up? And I see some empty spaces. I don't know if there's a refund for us. Can we talk about it? You know, it's traffic, he says. But I believe that KZN was electrifying. I saw the pictures, it was absolutely awesome. But let's make Gauteng even more amazing. So we are going to talk to you just really about the W&RSETA, what we do as an organization, but most importantly, how can we help you? In this day and age, we are all looking for someone who can help us, right? Is SARS here? Yeah, you know, ish. Okay, so I've got to be careful. But you know, SARS, everyone just wants money. Everyone wants a piece of you. But here comes an organization that says, how can we help you? And that's why we are here. And let me tell you a little bit about the organization that we are representing today. So we're saying that we are marking this year 13 years of fueling the fuel retail sector. And we're saying this because I think those of you who have been in the industry prior to around 2011, you would know that fuel retailers used to be with W&RSETA, right? And after the new SETA landscape, then fuel retailers will move to W&RSETA, yay, which we're very excited about because it means more opportunities for us to touch lives through skills development. So we've been with the fuel retailers for about 13 years. So the W&RSETA, let me, by show of hands, accept the two, this gentleman here and that lady there, whom I love dearly, because they have been part of our programs at some stage. But let me get a feel of who is familiar with the W&RSETA. Okay. Caesar, you're also exempted. You can't raise your hand. You can't raise it. So it is a few. So the wholesale and retail sector education training and authority, we are a public entity established by an act of parliament, so yay, we're government. Our primary role is to facilitate skills development in the wholesale and retail space, which will include fuel retail. There are now 21 seaters. When we started in the year 2000, there were 27 seaters. But as the landscape was being reviewed and enhanced, we are now at 21 seaters. So seaters this year are marking 25 years. So that is a huge milestone for us. So as I've indicated, we facilitate skills development to make sure that the people that you employ and yourselves as business owners, you have the necessary skills so that you can grow your businesses. Not only grow your businesses, because once we are running sustainable and profitable businesses, then we're able to contribute meaningfully into the economy of our country. So we do this through various programs, and I'm going to speak to that a little bit later. So we've got learning programs, we disburse grants for skills development. We also monitor education and training, because there are training programs that are implemented. We have qualifications, so we need to make sure that those qualifications are delivered at the right standard. Then moving forward, where do I? Okay, not gonna really bore you with this, but just to let you know that we are, as a SETA, working to be the leader in skills development in the country. And no, we are not in competition with any of the other SETAs, because we are all serving different stakeholders and industry. But yes, of course, we would like to be a leader. So that is our mission, which is to develop a skilled, capable, competent, and professional workforce. That's what we want to do. We want to make sure that the people that you are employing, they are skilled, they are capable. That is our mission. So obviously we are driven by values, which is accountability, agility, integrity and trustworthiness, mutual respect, and quality services. So that is our pledge to you as our stakeholders. Jonathan, where do I point? I keep on pointing at you. So who are our stakeholders? And these stakeholders, we are talking about the people that we exist to serve. So we have our small, medium, and large companies. So all the way from your conglomerates, your Woolworths and the Truworths, the big guys, right up to the lady on the corner of the street who is selling magwinya. Those are the people that we have been established to serve. Then we have informal traders. So whether you are a small business that is paying a levy to us, and I'm going to tell you about the payment of that levy or not, we are still obliged to serve you. Then obviously the employees, the people that you are employing in the sector. We have training providers. Do we have any training providers in the room today? Okay, there are training providers there. Welcome, thank you. And we also have unemployed youth, which is a very large component of our stakeholders. We've got students and learners. We also work with trade unions. We've got NGOs, NPOs, and cooperatives. So we basically have everybody covered. So you might be asking yourself, how are SETAs funded? You are funding SETAs, basically. And I hope that makes you smile. You are paying my salary. And this is how. So as a business, when you are making or you have a wage bill of 500,000 or more annually, right? By legislation, and SARS is going to confirm this, you are supposed to pay 1% of that to SARS, okay? So you pay that amount into SARS. It's called the Skills Development Levy. We don't like to call it a tax. Tax is such a strong word. It's a levy. You're contributing a skills development levy. So how that gets distributed, there is 70% of that 1% that then comes back onto the SETAs, and we use that money, about 20% of it, it comes back to you. There is a process that you need to follow so that you can get that 20%. Then there's an additional 49.5% that you can also receive when you participate in various programs. So then there's a 20% that goes into the National Skills Fund. So this is a public fund whereby organizations, companies, institutions can apply for skills development programs. It doesn't matter from which industry you are. PetroConnect can go into to the National Skills Fund. I know you're always looking for money, Mr. S. So, NSF. So if you don't make it with us, there's NSF. You can go to them. They are very generous. Then there's obviously the 10% that comes back and runs SETAs, pays my salaries, makes sure that we can do awareness campaigns like this and the like. So our programs, I've mentioned earlier that we facilitate skills development through a variety of programs, and some of those are the small and micro enterprises. And my understanding is that almost all of us in this room, we are under the category of small and medium companies. Is that right? So yes, we do have programs that we run as a SETA to support you as business owners, but also for the people that work for you. Then we also have entrepreneurship development, and that is a big one. I think we all understand and we know where we are as a country in terms of unemployment, particularly amongst the youth. And as a SETA, we are driving youth entrepreneurship. So we invest quite heavily to ensure that our young people can start their own businesses, and they are not only relying on finding employment within, whether in government or in the private sector. Then we also are involved in rural and cooperatives programs. Then we have our learning programs, which are learnerships and skills programs. We've got bursaries up to PhD level. So if you are here and you are interested, you want to do your MBA, you have a higher certificate or a diploma, we support you in that as a SETA. And I think I see some smiles here because there are people who have benefited quite heavily, where we've paid programs up to 500,000 for them to go all over the world. And one of them is going to talk to you about that. So that's what we do. And if you look at, again, that levy that you are paying, and Mark did an exercise for me in Durban. Mark, do you want to remind us about that exercise? Of what would roughly be maybe the minimum SDL that any company can pay. Perhaps the minimum.
So you'll have your 300,000 to 500,000 per month that you're doing on your wages,
Right.
1% of that.
Okay, so if you work that out, if we go and pay for a program of 500,000 rands for you, I mean, that's a lot, right? That's more than value. And not to mention the learnerships. So we bring in young people. You can bring in young people into your business, that you give them the experiential training, right? So that they know how to, to work in your workplace. And we pay them. So graduates as well, you can bring them in so that they give you that extra. We don't call them free labor, and please, they are not, and should not be regarded as free labor. They are there to learn, but they add so much value into your business. And as a small business, you know that you always need extra hands, because you're like an octopus, isn't it? We have to have your hands on finance, on HR, and a whole lot on marketing and a whole lot of other things. But when you have those graduates who come in, they are trained, they just need a space to actually apply their learning. So that really removes quite a bit of a burden on your shoulders as well. So, and all of these programs, you do not have to pay for any of them. Then we have management and executive development. Josta is going to speak to you about that. Then I've spoken about workplace experience, career guidance. It's very, very important because, again, by a show of hands, who decided as their first choice that they wanted to be in retail? They just woke up and like, I want to sniff petrol, as Mr. S called it. Who decided that? Nobody, because we look at retail, in the fuel retail space, we see petrol attendants. Our kids don't want to be petrol attendants. They don't want to be cashiers because they've got bigger ambitions. They want to be CAs, they want your offices. But we are actually saying to them that there is a career and there are opportunities in retail, more than what they see, because it is a business. There are accountants there are marketing directors, and a whole lot of other skills. So we want them to, from the onset, to look at retail as their career of choice. So we also invest quite heavily on that. Then we also work with TVET colleges as one of the most important delivery institutions for our programs. Right, so what are the benefits? Why should you do this? Okay. So I'm just going to give you a few benefits in terms of why we want you to be on board. And the other one is that you get to claim part of your skills development levy. I'm sorry to break it down to you. You've been losing money all these years. So if you have not been participating, all of that money has just been sitting with the W&RSETA. We've been taking it to other programs, which we don't mind, but we would absolutely love it when it benefits you directly. So there's that 20% of the 1% that I spoke about. You can actually claim. Obviously, there is something that you need to do. We do not just transfer it onto your account. There is a process, and that is where the skills development system kicks in. We are saying to you as companies, each and every year, tell us, what are your skills plan? You look at your business, and you know the gaps. You know the gaps in your business. You know where you need support. Then you tell us, and you say, and that is where companies like your PetroConnect, they come in, because they can give you that particular support. They can help you look at your business, analyze it, pick up the gaps. Then they can send the documents to us as the SETA. So we're also removing that burden from you, because we know that you are busy. You just want to pump the fuel. You just want to sell. Do you sell baked beans? When we speak to our other stakeholders, always, we sell baked beans. Well, the other things that you sell, the muffins and the pies and all those, that's what you want to do, right? You don't want to spend a lot of time buried in paperwork, and it is a lot of paperwork. So we understand, which is the reason why we would support you, make sure that there is someone who comes into your business and provide you with that support at no cost to you. Then you get to get your 20%. Then there are also discretionary funded programs that I spoke about. So your learnerships, you can participate on those. bursaries, you can participate in those. So there's a lot. So all of those programs that I spoke about, you get to participate in them, but only if you provide us with the documentation that I was talking about. And again, we support you through the process, so you are not alone. Then you can be able to participate in learnerships if you want short programs, a short course with UNISA, you'll be able to do that. But most importantly, you are skilling the country. I have to pause on this. We are skilling the country because that is absolutely important. For our economy to move forward, we need skilled people. So that is what, at a global level, you are contributing to. Then, of course, there are tax rebates, and I think the colleagues from SARS are going to talk to you about that. Mr. S also spoke about that to say that there are very legal ways of getting tax rebates. So they will discuss that with you in detail. Then, obviously, you would want to know, I hope I've excited you up to this level. Are you ready to sign up? You're like, where do we sign up? Where are the forms? We are ready. Are you ready? It's very easy. A lot of people ask, how do I register with W&RSETA? You don't register with us. We don't run a back office process where you can bring in some forms and you register, you know. But when you register your company with SARS, right, you are allocated a SETA. So there's a SETA number that you will then, Mark has to remind me. What is it called? MP who? MP? Yes, your MP201. So there's that form that will tell you which SETA you are with. The W&RSETA is SETA number 27. So when you look at your MP201, you need to find SETA 27. If you don't find SETA 27, which is the reason why we're also having this conversation while we are here, because we want you to come to SETA 27 because that's where you belong. You are in fuel retail, so we want you. You want to with us. We know that there are some of you who are still, if you go back now and you speak to your accountant, they'll be like, no, you're with SETA number whatever. There are other SETAs, there are other companies that with other SETAs, it could be W&RSETA, as I've indicated, that they probably didn't move, right, when we moved them way back. They could be with other SETAs because when you get to SARS, then they would be asking you what is your core business. Then you probably mention something, they're like, nah, this is with CHETA, with chemical SETA. But you should be with wholesale and retail SETA. And if you are with another SETA, it's not a train smash. There is a process called SETA transfer. So as a company, if you are registered with another SETA, but you want to move to a different SETA, that is possible, okay? It is a process. It takes a bit of time. It might take about 3 to 6 months for you to be transferred, but it is possible. So you can contact the SETA that you are with currently. Then you ask them that I want to transfer to W&RSETA. So there's a form that they will sign, that you will sign, and they sign as well. Then it goes to department, to SARS and the like, so that they then do the transfer. Then you can now belong with SETA 27, where there are all these great benefits. So in terms of your participation, so once we have established, and this is where now PetroConnect is going to come in, which is why they are ready now, to say if you are SETA 27, and the timing of this session, it's actually perfect because there is a window for participating each year, right? So we work according to financial year, just as you do. So for us, by the 30th of April, you should have submitted all those documents that I was talking about, your skills plan, to say these are your plans for the year. That must be submitted by the 30th of April, okay? So we then assist you by getting you a sector liaison officer who will come to you, to your business, and they will help you through the process. But that has to be done by the 30th of April so that you are able to participate on all those programs that I was talking about for the next financial year, which starts in April, okay? So we provide you with this support at no cost, So then you will be like, yeah, we like your story. It sounds good. Marketing people make anything believable. I can sell you ice, if you're an Eskimo and you still buy it. But for us, it's very important to show you the impact and to get people who have been part of our programs to speak to you so that I'm sure they speak the same language. There's a Petro language that I don't speak, but Josta speaks that language, and he can share with you what has been his experience since he has been with the W&RSETA and how he has benefited, including his company. Josta, I call him my ILDP baby. He was on our international program, so him and Vuyo, they are my babies. Josta, over to you. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Josta Sahota. I'm a retailer, just like many of you in the room. And we, as retailers, we all know the same challenges we face. Our industry will remain our industry as it is. If you go and look at the trend line from how much petroleum we've been selling since 2017, I've been in the industry now for 15 years, and the numbers are not growing as much as they should be. If you go and look at, there's a company, one of the petroleum companies yesterday released their interim results. I think the others released last month, so the growth is not as much as we would like it to be. And the cost of doing business in South Africa are growing each day. So even if you tighten your operational belts every year, the cost keeps going high, the inflation keeps being what it is, the CPI goes high, and the growth of petroleum products is not doesn't match up with what it costs to do business. So then maybe it's just me, but all of us face hardships of doing business and in the petroleum sector. So that is where 3 years ago I started working with W&RSETA to see how the skills development and training could help my company to sustain itself. And obviously you buy a petrol station, the rules of the country forces you to buy it with the employees, you buy it with the employees as a going concern, and most of the times the employees don't match the skills, they're not as productive, and with unproductive employees and inefficient employees, you get to have a skills mismatch and you don't grow as much as you wish you could. So then it affects your profitability as a business. Then I was matched with a SLO, skills liaison officer, who then conducted a skills training needs analysis for my business. And some of the guys were not as literate as you would have wanted to be. They're not as productive. They're not trained as you wanted them to be. And in that time, we managed to place them with the help of W&RSETA to upskill a lot of employees that were at work. And put some on bursary schemes that they offer. And the reality is anybody else who's paying pay as you earn is paying SDL as well. So the money, you're already contributing it. So it's not like the money, you're not going to contribute it. You're not going to contribute it if you're not using it. So you still use it even if you don't take advantages of this program that the SETAs are providing. So through that SLO, we managed to get a bit of my employees. Obviously, at the beginning, the uptake is slow. They don't want to do training. They don't want to. But as time goes, as you put more and more employees into the program, you manage to even when you get to purchase another site and somewhere, you get to take the employees that you have trained and you have skilled from one side to the other. And you can see the productivity, the coalescence between the productivity of the business and how your business processes improve at work. And for now, I think in the past 3 years, I've managed to put in each of my service stations something like a year, maybe 12, 15 on the training programs. So then even the unemployment, because we don't have a very huge basket of where we go and find employees. We don't have people that go and train to be petrol attendants and go and train to be in the retail sector, in your shops, in our retail stores. So you manage to take the unemployed people, then you put them through the learnership that the W&RSETA gets to help you fund. And in a year, in two, then you manage to see and retain the employees that you think will match the business that you're trying to achieve. And in the previous 2 years, I was afforded again an opportunity to join the ILDP. It's an international development program, specifically for retail and petroleum people. We managed to go through, I think, 4 countries internationally, and to actually, when you're there, you manage to benefit from seeing how other petroleum businesses are operating, from seeing how petroleum companies are operating in Europe and in America and in Africa, the other side of Africa. The most important part was going to Morocco, because in the petroleum industry, ever since I was here, there's always been the biggest conversation: do we unregulate our fuel? It's regulated. We don't make enough on our res. And I managed to go to Morocco with as part of the program, and managed to see how destructive unregulated fuel is in other different parts of the world. And because people just think we'll unregulate fuel, and the retailers can have the liberation to put their own fuel prices, and it will be as competitive. And when you're there, you manage to see how the unregulation of fuel in Morocco actually even managed to create a food crisis, because then the fuel started becoming unaffordable. Then we managed to, in Turkey, I'm sure if you have a franchise with one of the top 3 or top 4, you would see how every year Turkey always comes at the top for efficiency of their employees and efficiency of how their employees work, and how the service, every year they always score highest in the world for how they service their clients compared to the rest of the world. So you manage to benefit from those kind of things. Then we are joined by other industry leaders. So you manage to benefit from how people are doing business that we are doing this side. So when you come back, you manage to then implement that in your business. And that gets to get your employees to be much more confident, better skilled to address the challenges that we faced, especially of driving the cost of running our businesses down. So just to reduce it first, because I see the things that I'm going to say, there's people here that are from the sectors that will be addressing them. So over the 3 years, I'm saying even now, you get to benefit from unemployment, getting unemployed learnerships into the work, and getting to get your employees to be on this skills program, and at no cost to your company. All you need to do is manage to submit your training skills your training skills gap, submit your WSP in time, and even if you can't do that by yourself, W&RSETA will afford you an SLO, and that SLO they pay themselves to help you to complete those kind of things. And we obviously moving into a lot of more digital work. Our employees are not as savvy as they should be, and these training programs manage to align their skills with the needs of the business that are coming ahead. We are obviously going to move to a much more digital world, so we will need employees that will be able to match that task. And that obviously will improve your business processes and your efficiency. You'll be able to reduce the waste that we're currently having in the business, and be able to get rid of the dead wood and the unskilled and things that we have in our work. And every year there's, and the ILGP opens and closes, I can't remember the day. Yeah, and on their website, W&RSETA, if you go there, then you can be able to see different programs that they offer, and you can do that for your employees, as I did, and you'll be able to get the training that they offer for free. I think that's all.
Thank you so much. So that was a teaser. There's more. Are we sold? Are we sold? Do you want to be part of this? You've got to be part of this. And I think our clarion call is South Africa needs you. So please be part of this system, because it's the only way that we can make our country to be better than what it is today. So please join hands with us and be part of the skills revolution. Thank you. And at this point, I think there was a question, Jonathan, if it's okay that we take one or two questions. Online questions, awesome, awesome. Maybe let's start here in the room. Are there any questions that you would like to ask to either, very smart people, they will take their questions. Are there any questions? Okay, at the back. Please direct the difficult questions to Mr. Mbata. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Mduduzi. I just want to check. I've got a couple of questions, but I want to try and make them as short as possible. So the first question is in terms of the unemployed learnerships. To get the certificates after the training has been done, how long does that take? Because, I mean, as far as I remember from the staff and the people that we've trained, some of them were still outstanding certificates as far as date back as 2 years ago. So I just need to understand how long does that take. And then my second question will be in terms of the bursaries, including the international leadership. For the past 3-4 years, I've done 4 applications actually. Each year I've been trying to get into the international, and unfortunately I haven't been successful, and I'm not quite too sure what would be the reason, because there's no feedback after you've done the application saying that your application has been declined or anything like that. So is there a way that maybe someone can give us feedback once you've done the application in terms of a decline or an acceptance? The third question is, I heard that you spoke about once you've done your plan for the year, W&RSETA will send just use the word, an agent to go through the process and everything. I mean, I do this every year, but I've never been in a point whereby I get an agent from W&RSETA unless I'm doing it in an incorrect way. So if you can clarify that, maybe if there is a person responsible per region that we can talk to make our life easier. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those questions. So in terms of the duration of certification, so we are firstly going to admit that there have been challenges with certification over the last 2 years or so. That was related to a system issue. But we have been dealing with the backlog of that. But so under normal circumstances, around 6 months for the external moderation and all the other processes. In about 6 months, the certification should be finalized. So if you still have outstanding certificates, we will then encourage you to please get in touch with the relevant provincial office. I'm not sure where you are based, but we have offices throughout the country. Gauteng has 2 offices. So we've got an offices in Parktown as well as in Hatfield. So depending on where you are based, where your company is based, the provincial office will be able to assist you in that regard. So in terms of ILDP, so I'm really sorry that you have been struggling to get onto the program. The competition is very, very stiff each and every year. Mr. Mbata will tell you he sits on those panels where we interview the delegates. It's very rough. I mean, everyone wants to go onto the ILDP, so unfortunately we only take about 60 each year. But it is an anomaly that you have not received feedback because every candidate would have received feedback. So that is usually managed by the institution that is running the program. And I do know that we have to give everyone feedback, and we do that. So if you haven't received it, I would love to look into that. I actually work on the ILDP as well. So I'll be happy to assist and give you feedback. But unfortunately, because there's quite a lot of people who are applying for the program, it's not easy to give everyone exact feedback to say why you didn't make it, as to the reasons why not, because sometimes the competition is just that tough. Then we have to select the cream of the crop. Not that you are not, but maybe let's talk to you about other programs because because it could also be, because remember we've got different programs. Before the ILDP, we've got the Retail Management Development Program, which has been really instrumental in helping other people who can get onto the ILDP to get them on that road. So that you get your basics, the basics right, of retail management. So it could be that perhaps we need to start you off at the RMDP level before we get you onto the ILDP. But obviously, the cases are quite different. I'll be happy. I can actually volunteer myself to just take you through the process and maybe look at your application, the previous application. I'll gladly do that for you. So in terms of the SLOs, so that is the agent that you are talking about. So we have training providers that we then appoint. So we normally would give them a list and the provinces. Then they can go and attend to those companies. But if you have not been contacted, there is nothing stopping you from coming to the SETA to say, I'm a small or I am a medium company, I need assistance. Hence, also as part of our marketing campaigns, we make that clear. So this is the message that we are carrying out to say that there is a service, it's available to you at no cost. So if you have not been reached by an SLO, we appoint these SLOs. They have a list of companies that they need to go through. So if they haven't reached you yet, please, you are more than welcome to contact our provincial offices. Then they will make sure that there is an SLO that comes to you to assist you with the process. Okay? All right, so are we able to take someone online, or is there another question in the room? He asked all the questions that we had. Okay, great stuff. Right, so we are covered, so let's go online. Are you going to read the questions for us, Pei, or are they somewhere on the chat? Okay, is he going to ask it? Are we able to hear him? All right, MJ, please ask your question. MJ, we are all ears. Are you possibly muted?
Can you hear me?
All right, we can see you, MJ. Please go ahead.
No, I was responding that the gentleman did ask one of the questions that I was about to ask, which was regarding the ILDP.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right, so your question was related to the ILDP. Maybe, Mr. S, you must talk to Steerco. Maybe we need an ILDP for fuel retailers. I don't know. There seems to be, well, we do have fuel retailers, obviously, but maybe there is a special ILDP that we might need to consider. So MJ says his question has been answered. It was related to ILDP. Any other questions online, in the room? All right, looks like my job here is done. Thank you, Jonah.
Check, check. Thanks, Martha. Thanks, Justice. We really appreciate your insight. It's always good to hear some real-world experience. And I'm sure you all agree that you should be looking at wholesale and retail because it's clear that they are the best eater. Just to reiterate something I've mentioned at our other roadshows, as Gerald showed, we insure over 1,000 sites, and we see very clearly those businesses that are investing in the skills in their staff through skills development. They have a much better risk profile, which in turn leads to a more sustainable business. Yes, and I mean, you're going to maybe start asking yourselves questions like, what are these training needs analysis? How do we do these things? And that's really where PetroConnect comes in. And I'm sure that they will elaborate a bit more just now. We are also very big proponents of skills development and contributing to our fuel retail industry, and that's really why we're so excited to be a part of this initiative. So before I call Mark Harper, the other co-founder of PetroConnect, up to talk about the skills development initiative, we just have a short video to show you.
Greetings you all. I'm happy that I was selected to attend these classes. Firstly, I would like to thank them for giving me this opportunity, and I've learned a lot of things about the different personalities, their ethics, code of conduct.
So what I've been doing here is that I've been learning so much. I don't even know where to begin because we've a lot of things were unpacked, things that were happening around us in our environment that we just chose to ignore. But when these things were brought up to us, we realized that we had to take action. So we've learned so much, and thank you to Mr. Colin for bringing this up to us. We've learned a lot about communication, about being positive, about what you do. We've learned about code of conduct. We've come to understand a lot of things that we didn't clearly understand because due to lack of communication. But now we have a very clear understanding. And then I can say that our confidence has been boosted up.
But since I've been in this course, I've learned that communication is key in life in general. So the work I do with communication, with the skills I've learned here, I can implement them. I can make life more easier at work. It's easier now to communicate with my senior members. It's easier to communicate with my fellow colleagues.
I'm walking out here with my head up to say, you know what? It benefited me in a very good way, and I'm ready to take the next step and to grow.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. Can you join us on stage?
I'll also rather stand on this side because of my height, eh? But we hope that you're clapping for those learners. I think we've had some amazing programs that we've run over this past couple of years. And that's just one of them. There's a couple of other videos which we'll get to a bit later, and there's other stuff online that we'll obviously be sharing. But thank you so much to you all for joining today, and everyone obviously online as well for joining. Yeah, we really, really appreciate you coming out so early. I see the room has filled up a bit. I'm glad it filled up after that I could come on and there would be a full room, right? But Martha, thank you very much again to W&RSETA for being part of this initiative. We've obviously had a number of partners on board, Garage Sure, One Sure, but W&RSETA being obviously our main sponsor of the programs. And I think, Martha, I'm quite impressed how much energy you have today after being overseas for 3 weeks. She's actually been on another W&RSETA program facilitating that. We came from Cape Town 2 days ago, so yeah, I think clearly you've learned how to have all the energy, right? So where do I fit into this, or PetroConnect, or my presentation, shall we say, is that you've obviously heard from the W&RSETA what these programs are all about. So I don't want to go into every single program in detail because Martha's been into that. I think the biggest part of what we're going to talk about now is how do we implement these things. Because all these wonderful things, they're all great in theory. Theory is great, but how do we actually, how do we put those wheels in motion? Excuse the pun for fuel retailers. But I think that is the biggest thing that PetroConnect is here to talk about today. Hope I get this thing right. Okay. So I think I don't have to go into too much detail about who PetroConnect is. I think most of you know who PetroConnect is. But we offer a number of services within the business. Spunelo and I founded the business a few years ago. And to his point as well, was from a lot of the challenges that we had experienced and what we had seen in the industry. I mean, we keep getting those experiences every day of our life. I mean, I was talking to a fellow retailer outside earlier, and we were talking about contaminations, working with oil companies. There's just so many challenges that every single day we're all going to experience. But how do we just add something to the business that can help with some of those challenges? And that's really where PetroConnect came in. We obviously are a skills development facilitator and have our academy that offers a variety of services to new retailers coming in, as well as programs for actual staff that are in the business. We obviously go outside of fuel retail into the various other retailers. And I think we all know fuel retail is like everything. So when you look at a service station, it's literally everything in one. You've got cafes, you've got shops. In many of our sites, we've got the steers, we've got the debonaires, there's OK groups, there's spas, there's everything that happens within these businesses. So the Skills Development Initiative really was born out of these challenges. We put this together, and obviously Garage Show and One Show coming on board to say on every policy that they renew going forward, they'll be issuing these letters to the retailers to say, you have the opportunity to be part of this program for free. I think one thing I can say, maybe I must say this up front, because it's quite hard when you get to the end and everyone says, what's the cost? Because that's normally what we get. I'm going to say it at the beginning, there's no cost to anybody on any of these programs. So you don't have an administration cost up front, you don't have costs from us, and obviously the W&RSETA doesn't give you extra costs, as well as Garage Show and One Show are not going to give you extra costs. So I think now you'll pay more attention, right? Because now you know you don't have to pay. I think you've probably heard all these other things about 500,000 for this program, that program, thinking, well, hey, I'm going to have to pay a lot of money. So the role of an SDF. So we've been speaking about Skills Development Facilitator and where does PetroConnect fit in. So you've got the W&RSETA on the one side. They need a Skills Development Facilitator to be appointed by your business in order to run the rest of the processes. We had quite a lot of questions that came up in the other roadshows about, this is so much admin. It's going to be admin to run the learners. It's going to be admin to get this done, get that done. We're there to take as much of that burden away as possible. Is it perfect? We can't say anything in life is perfect. Spunelo's been telling me for a while he's perfect, but he isn't perfect. So, at the end of the day, there's no such thing as perfection in a program, but what we try and do is take as much of the admin side away. So we develop our WSPs, which we're going to get to just now, which is our workplace skills plan, and we do a training needs analysis right up front with you to understand what are the needs of your business. So I think there's a big thing in saying, okay, we want to run this program, we want that program. Obviously, everyone wants as much money back as possible. But how do we do it properly? How does it create impact in the business? So we need to actually create impact in the businesses that we're going to get involved in. And if we're not creating impact, please come and talk to us first before just saying, hey, I'm out. Because we need to understand if that impact is because of a specific reason, or are we not performing the way that we're meant to be performing? I've always maintained, as within our businesses, is that if we can't perform and you're not seeing value, we mustn't be part of your business. There needs to be a value. I'm going to just move on to, sorry, this thing is a little bit slow. I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but at the end of the day, we have to go through the various steps in order to make sure that you are compliant. Just to Martha's point, we spoke about EMP 201s. We need to get that up front. We need to see what SETA you are with. If we're going to do inter-SETA transfers, maybe you're with a food bev SETA. We do work with the other SETAs, but at the end of the day, it's all specific to your particular business. Within service stations, wholesale and retail SETA is the SETA for service stations. But if we're looking at other food businesses, there's many of you probably in this room now that do have other businesses, not just a petrol station. You might be registered with a food bev SETA, for example. We can work with those SETAs, but we can also do inter-SETA transfers to make sure the wholesale and retail SETA is where this, where we're going to get the most benefit from. And there is a lot of benefit that is coming from the and retail SETA. So when we look at the quality control, just before I get to these programs, quality control is incredibly important. We need to make sure that you're getting your tranche payments, and we have to make sure that there's quality control throughout the process. So that's what we're there to do. And again, hold us accountable. I love this word accountability. We use it in the workplace a lot about staff being accountable. We love to also try to say we need to keep the oil companies accountable. It can sometimes be a bit difficult. But as your SDF, we want to be held accountable. The various learnerships and programs. To my point I mentioned earlier was that we need to understand your business first. You might have a different need to another site down the road. So your program that you might say, well, I just need petrol attendants. I just need to upskill my petrol attendants. I'm not looking to upskill all my cashiers and my supervisors and all of that. I have a deep need right now for petrol attendants. That is what we're going to uncover during our training needs analysis. But you might say that, hey, I've got a manager. And that manager is someone that I can see maybe doing the LDP program at some point in time. Guys, it's possible. All these things are all possible through these funding methodologies, and obviously bring us on board to make sure that we can help facilitate those things. To be able to get on an LDP program, I mean, to the point earlier, I mean, it's incredibly difficult. But if one goes through, the management, goes through and says, well, that manager, I want them to stay with me. This is also an incredible retention strategy, because that retention strategy means we can hold on to that staff member for years to come. And we've run these with our own staff, so it's not sort of things that we're obviously speaking about. So if we can just go back one slide. So of these programs, they obviously cover the various aspects of the service station, right? But when we look at generic management, supervisors and managers that may be on that program, but it teaches them so many different aspects. So from customer service, and I will talk to something about customer service because we've got quite an exciting tool that we've just launched. And customer service, and I shouldn't have used the word service because I actually hate using the word service. It's experience. It's customer experience. If we're not creating customer experiences on our forecourts, we might as well just pack up and go. Because unfortunately, the industry is becoming that much more tougher these days in terms of creating experience for the customer. If we can have more staff on our sites, we should be able to create more experiences. Yes, they've got to be trained up. Yes, we've got to ignite them. Yes, we've got to be good employers. But at the same time, with more staff on the forecourts and employing more, we obviously can start surrounding maybe one car with 2 petrol attendants. One person filling up, one person cleaning the windscreen, as an example. That's an experience. By the way, you're not paying for those staff. W&RSETA is paying for the staff. So if we can't take advantage of that, please don't even just stay for lunch, eh? So what's the purpose of these qualifications? We have to upskill. We're upskilling our current staff, and we're going to upskill staff that are going to come in. So these are learners that are joining. Martha mentioned something quite prevalent earlier in terms of, and she thought I wasn't listening to everything, but I was listening to everything. She mentioned something quite prevalent earlier in terms of they're learners. They are learning, right, while they're in your business. But at the same time, they also become part of your complement. So I know she's not going to hate us for saying free labor, but again, there is labor that's coming into your business, which in effect is theoretically free. Okay? So these learners are joining your service station, right? So we do our training needs analysis, we do our workplace skills plan, we put that through to the SETA. The SETA comes back and says, we've awarded you 10 employed learners and 10 unemployed learners. Those 10 employed learners are going to be people on your petrol stations now. So that could be forecourt attendants that we're upskilling, cashiers that we're going to be upskilling, or even a manager or supervisor that we're going to upskill. So you're running programs with them. Yes, those employed don't get stipends, but they're getting an incredible training program behind them. They're learning, they're developing, and they are going to get that certificate. I know that question. I'm glad I didn't have to field that question on the certificates. But the certificate, I know that process has been quite a challenging one, but it is coming. Your person that's in the service station now wants to be there. They're thinking, wow, my employer is actually upskilling. They're going to give me a certificate at the end. They know I've got that in my CV. Yes, you don't want them to leave, but you know that age-old thing is you don't have to upskill, but you're going to have this person working in your business that's not skilled, or you're going to have to upskill the person because you want the right skills within the business. And again, retention. We need to retain the right people in the business. So lifelong learning and career paths. It's something that's quite key now as we embark on these journeys, is that we actually create the training needs analysis, and we do a WSP every year. But we look back in the next year to look back at it and say, okay, what worked, what didn't work? Who else do I want to train? Who else do I not want to train? So it's a lifelong career path. And we all should be on some sort of learning environment or learning sort of path every year or in our lives. That's what we aim to do. And many of these learners do want to learn more. They want to become the retailer one day. We know it's not that easy. I think a lot of people, all the retailers in the room, you can see the smiles, because everyone says, I want to own a garage. And then they realize when they're in the garage, I don't want to own the garage. But at the end of the day, we know they're good businesses, but how do we start to tweak a couple of those things now? I know Jeff spoke about that earlier, but in terms of just tweaking certain operational things within our businesses. Staff, it's our biggest expense, but it should also be our biggest asset, because those are the only people that are bringing people in. I mean, we're talking in Cape Town about self-service. We know self-service is not on the cards for South Africa anytime soon. We employ over 100,000 people. I don't think government's going to just say, oh, it's fine, you can now do self-service. So how do we now start to work with what we have? Thanks. What are the benefits? Upskilling and training we've spoken about. The Section 12H tax benefits. This is always the exciting part, right? I know you've been bored with what I've had to say up to now, but the 12H allowances that you're getting. Maybe if I can just get like a show of hands, anyone that is taking advantage of 12H allowances. Is anyone here taking advantage of them from the retailers? So you're all paying too much tax. Or you've got really good accountants that are finding other ways to save you tax. 12H allowances, on every single learnership that you complete, you are getting an allowance off your taxable income. Per learner, you're getting 80,000 Rand per year. So it's 40,000 Rand that you get per annum So if it obviously splits over a financial year, if your financial year is in February, it will split over that year, so it's pro rata for those learners that have completed up until February. Let's say it's Feb 2025, and let's say they started in November 2024. For those months from November to February, so 4 months in that case, you'll be getting that 40,000 Rand times by 4 divided by 12. You'll get that pro rata to your taxable income. When the learners finish, you get another 40,000 Rand off your taxable income. So let's say we got 10 learners. I had an example now of 20 learners. You're getting 800,000 off your taxable income on those 10, obviously 1.6 on the 20. I mean, it's just like, I don't know. SARS is going to speak about it a bit more just now. And again, it's not tax evasion. It's not. This is exactly what we're meant to be doing. We're meant to be upskilling, bringing learners in. All of this free, by the way. The 12H allowance is just something extra to add to your taxable income or to deduct off. So the 12H allowances, have to take advantage of them. If you do have a disabled learner, it's 120,000. So it's 60,000 and 60,000. 120,000 Rand. We understand it's got to be the right disabled learner because obviously it's got to be safe on our forecourts. So in certain areas of your business, we do have disabled learners within our businesses. There might be a hearing disability as an example. We can still put that person as a merchandiser. There's no reason why they can't be in our businesses, but we are getting the taxable benefits on that. And then obviously the subsidised labour costs. Again, Martha's keeping her ears closed, but that free labour is subsidised labour costs, right? You're getting labour in your business. So if I take 10 unemployed learners, right, you get an award of 10 unemployed learners. They come into your service station as learners. The stipends are paid by the SETA to you. That's as easy as it is. It doesn't go via Spornello's bank account. It goes straight into your bank accounts as the service provider, or rather as the actual site that's doing the training. We're obviously there to make sure that we help throughout this process, doing the plans, doing stipend recons for you. There are extras that a lot of service providers don't do, or training providers, but we're there to actually help with stipend recons, and we prepare that 12H allowance pack. So we actually prepare the pack for you to give over to your accountants to ensure that it gets through the accounting system, so that you don't sit with everything with the accountants. Accountants don't all know about this, by the way, as much as some of them have studied. The 12H allowance is not something they all know about. We're happy to upskill. Please just tell us, reach out. I'm not going to go into this benefit breakdown too much now. You have got a little brochure. There's everything in your bags. We hope that you love everything inside the bags. There's a little magnet there, a little petrol pump magnet, as well in your bags. And then obviously if there's any leftover lunch, you can put it inside the bag and duck off with it. So you've got the stipends, you've got the 12H benefit. So if you look at just those benefits here, we're looking at the normal wages. Okay, they've gone up a little bit from 7 grand because obviously we've had constant increases in our staff costs, right? Hourly rates. We're sitting at normal wages. If I was to bring in those 5 learners, we'd be sitting at 420,000. The stipends you're getting back is 210,000, which obviously gets paid directly over to the learner. The potential 12H benefit, if you had 4 able-bodied and 1 disabled, you would then sit with 320 and 120,000, giving you a 440,000 Rand benefit, times that by 27%, because it's off your taxable income. So in essence, you're seeing the labour benefit, which is the labour cost, plus you're seeing the 118,800 Rand, which is the tax benefit. So in essence, if you were doing your books perfectly, you were profitable every year. Many of our sites are profitable. I know we're always saying they're not profitable, and I know there's some bankers in the room today, so you're going to say that you're not profitable, but when you want that overdraft increase, you're very profitable. And then, if it's the girlfriend or the wife, you're also not profitable. But at the end of the day, that 12H benefit is going to assist you. It's going to give you the 118,800. And then the potential ETI savings. Does anyone claim the ETIs as well? Does anyone know the ETIs? Because that's on your payroll. ETIs is if it's, and I see a couple of heads nodding. If you bring in someone below the age of 30, so up to 29, you can then claim an ETI benefit on each person. And that's 1.5 per person. Even if you come away from this and you get nothing out of today, okay, you got the lunch, but you get nothing out of today, just be able to claim your ETI benefits and be able to get your mandatory grants back. I'm going to speak to that now. Sorry, it was actually on the previous slide. But you have to get mandatory grants and you have to get your ETIs back. That's if you don't have any learners. Mandatory grants, sorry, that was on one of the benefits of the program, but you're meant to be getting 20% of your SDL levies back every single year. It's mandatory, to the word, mandatory. As long as we are doing a WSP, Workplace Skills Plan, for you, you will get your 20% back. So it's mahala, 20% into the account. Okay, you can take the wife, take the husband out for dinner. You're going to get something back for that 20%. So it's 20% of 1% back. So you've got mandatory, discretionary grants, and obviously the other benefits that we've been speaking about, like your tax allowances. Of course, on an employed learner, you're not going to get stipends back because you're already paying them, but you will still get your tax allowance on an employed learner. Hope that all makes sense. I know there's quite a lot to take in with all these presentations, lots of numbers, lots of acronyms. We can just use any acronyms now. You're probably just going to be like, okay, he must know what he's saying. But even, there's SDFs, WSPs, ATRs. So it is quite a confusing space. Even ourselves, we've taken time to upskill ourselves and make sure that we know the space. And we do have a very upskilled academy team. Many of them, I think, are even dialed in today listening. So I've got to say that. No, I'm just kidding. But we do have a very good team on the other side to handle all of this, from our heads all the way down, to make sure that everything is managed from start to end for you and that we communicate with you, because it's all about communication. I think this whole garage show, one show thing, right, has spurred on a lot of this. And when we started having the discussions with One Show and Garage Show being obviously the two biggest insurers behind the fuel retail industry, between the two, they sit with 2,500, 3,000 retailers that they insure. There are so many risks. We know the risks: fire, contamination, theft, robberies. All these types of things are happening every single day. Sometimes we don't actually know they're happening, because I don't know what it is with retailers. They don't seem to like to talk to each other, right? They don't seem to like to share. So they don't tell each other, I had a contamination, who are you using? How are you dealing with the contamination? Or maybe there's a bombing. Do we share to say, hey, it's the same type of MO that's going around? But if we have more upskilled staff on the sites, it has to decrease. It has to decrease. I understand that when there's a fire, you often think everyone's just going to run, because that can happen. But at the end of the day, if they're a little bit more upskilled on certain aspects, certain management that they get upskilled on, customer experience, they get upskilled on those little aspects. And even sometimes it's just going to the training room. So they come out of, they obviously have a theory section and they have a practical section. The theory that they go through, they go to beautiful venues that we have. We also have offices here in Joburg. They go to beautiful venues when they're actually training in the theory. And they actually come away and say, they need to come back to you guys and say, hey, that was incredible. I actually learned something today. Or I just experienced something different. I went into a beautiful training venue. I got lunch. We provide all those refreshments to the learners. They get a proper lunch for the day. They're getting refreshments along the way. Just feeling special. Come back to the site. There should be that little bit of, as our customer experience expert says, vavavum. Just to have that little bit extra. So, obviously, as I said, our insurance policy, it gets added on as a value-added product onto your insurance policy. So you can tell us today, hey, I want to be part of this. we sign on and we started up the workplace skills plan and our training needs analysis. But at the end of the day, how do we create less risk in our sites, and how do we create more compliance? That's what it boils down to. A lot of our staff, I mean, oil companies will come around to your start, checklist, tick the boxes. That's what we often have. But to go that extra step further and not just make it about, are we compliant? Do we actually know what's going to happen if there is a fire, if there is unrest, if there is this issue, that issue? Those are the types of questions that we need to obviously be able to ask. Just in summary, the key benefits for you as a retailer, we manage everything. So we manage all the training, we manage your SETA submissions, dealing with all internal, external staff, stakeholders, dealing with the SETAs in those offices. You're not having to deal with those offices all the time, you're dealing with us. The return on your training investment needs to be there. To my point that I mentioned earlier, the actual training needs to be decent. I mean, and it's not to speak ill of any other provider out there. The training has to be good, whether you appoint us or not. If it's just to get the tax allowance back, or it's just to get the free labor, it has to be good training, so that actually people are getting upskilled. Trainees come back, they actually need to be able to infiltrate amongst your current staff and say, flip, I got good training. And remember, you can then get employed learners for the next year to say, well, flip, it helped the unemployed, now let's make sure we're doing the right for the employed. I've spoken about the mandatory grants, get those benefits. The discretionary grants are the learners that we're talking about. You're employed and unemployed, you can get those grants back. And then your SARS rebates, we've spoken about, and never forget the ETR grants. They look small, but I can tell you what, it adds up. Add it up when you've been in the industry for 10 years, even 5 years, it starts to add up, making sure that your payroll provider is getting your ETR grants back. The one thing that I just want to talk briefly about, unfortunately, she couldn't be with us today. Peach is on our customer experience side, and we've actually just developed a new WhatsApp tool. It's a bot, and we're going to play a little video on that bot now. But really what that's all about is how do we get more feedback from our customers. So here we've done the training, here we've put the learners in, here we've got all these financial benefits, but are we getting the feedback from our customers? Like, I don't know, do any of you get feedback from your customers, or it's via head office when they send them email, total head office, hey, someone did this, and then you get the feedback a month later, or you got your mystery motorist. I mean, that also comes around maybe, once every 2-3 months. Get the feedback a month after. Long time gone. That customer has already left you. You've already lost, I don't know, 10 fills from that customer. 300 liters. How much is that in margin? 600 rand? It's gone. But if we can get real-time feedback, that feedback is into the business, our managers are getting the feedback, we're getting customers telling us, hey, you went wrong on this. Hey, you didn't sort out your convenience store. Hey, your toilets were looking terrible today. That feedback of being able to actually speak to that customer the day after or the same day, I mean, yeah, we've seen massive benefit. We've obviously implemented that in a number of sites across the country, and in other retailers, by the way. I mean, a cashier might be doing something funny, but your customer doesn't want to say anything because they're afraid. I mean, customers can be strange sometimes. We all know, we're all customers, right? They get afraid they're going to get victimized, let alone the staff. So this is completely, they can just send a quick message and we go from there. So we're going to play a quick video. I'm not going to bore you anymore with my voice. Let's rather listen to the lady's voice.
Introducing the voice of the customer, an innovative way to transform how you engage with your customers. In today's fast-paced world, understanding what your customers want and how they feel about your services and their experiences can be the key to driving business growth. Imagine having the ability to hear directly from your customers as they experience your service in real time. With the voice of the customer, now you can. This service gives you a dedicated WhatsApp line that customers can use to instantly share their feedback with you. Here's how it works. You simply display a WhatsApp number at your business location where customers can easily see it. With just a few taps, they can share their compliments, suggestions, or concerns with you immediately. This allows you to address their feedback on the spot, showing your commitment to delivering exceptional service. With this real-time communication, you can turn every piece of feedback into an opportunity for immediate improvement, creating a stronger relationship with your customers and building trust. Your customers' voices aren't just heard, they're turned into actionable insights. Like you can see here, this business has gained valuable feedback, allowing for them to focus on what's working well and where improvements are needed. This kind of insight is essential for making data-driven decisions that enhance customer experience. Voice of the Customer gives you the tools to respond swiftly to any issues, turning negative experiences into positive ones before the customer can leave your premises. One of the greatest benefits of this innovation isn't just about customer feedback, it's also about recognizing your team. Our staff recognition program identifies the superheroes from your employees, celebrating those who consistently go above and beyond to deliver exceptional service. Empower your business with the voice of the customer. Listen, respond, and grow. Make sure your customers know their feedback matters and that you're committed to delivering the best service possible. Get started with the voice of the customer today and transform the way you connect with your customers.
So yeah, it's Peach, who's a customer experience expert who sits behind a lot of the system, and that team will ensure that you're getting the feedback all the time. This is not just automated, you're just going to get some automated emails every day. It doesn't work like that. There is a team as well. Part is automated, part is team. And as she says, this costs you less than the price of a cappuccino every day. That's all that it would cost you as a retailer. And if we do any sign-ups, the first month of this is free, so that you are able to test it. You're able to actually see, is it what you want? Because then you know, I want to keep it or I don't. Again, I've always been about, if it's not adding value, let's move on. You know, we can still be friends and have lunch, but you'll have to pay for that lunch. I think we've covered most aspects. Our last aspect that I did want to cover is that we do have a UIF program that is going on at the moment called the Labour Activation Program. It is also in conjunction with the W&RSETA in terms of the skills, courses that we offer, but the funding is coming through from UIF. What if you join up today in terms of saying, I'm just using hypothetically, you say, right, I'm moving on this SDF, I need to get learners. You can't get learners immediately because it's a process. We have to do workplace skills plans, etc. There are some deadlines, which I'm going to refer to shortly. Once we've been through all of that, you'll get your learners third quarter, end of the third quarter of this year, once the awards have been done by the SETA. In the meantime, though, we are able to offer learners to you at your service stations through this labour activation program. There is a little brochure, or rather some documents inside your bags that you'll be able to take back and just read a little bit more detail. I don't want to bore you anymore, but there is some detail in there, and there is a contact person in there from our PetroConnect team that you can at least just reach out to and say, right, I want 10 people for my site. You're able to get those learners a lot sooner. So we're looking at within the next 2 months. They are over a period, and they'll be for 6 months. We also offer the theory, there is the practical, and they get paid stipends, which is administered by PetroConnect. It doesn't come from the SETA. PetroConnect will pay your staff directly. So if there's issues with payments, you know who you're going to be pointing fingers back at. You've met us now. So at the end of the day, that will help just with an interim until the SETA learners start to come into place where that will be full learnerships. But these UIF learners are going to add a lot of value to your business, some talent that you will also be able to see coming through from that, because we hope to then keep these people employed, because that's what we need to do. I mean, in South Africa, we understand now unemployment rate. Sometimes I think we lied to at times about the percentages, but unemployment is rife. These programs are going to help with those unemployment levels. So that is the UIF program. And in essence, if you can, please just look at your brochures and just contact us through that. We will be setting up sessions with everybody just to see, are you happy to do a training needs analysis? As I said, costs you nothing. And then we'll kind of go from there. So I think I've come mostly to the end of my presentation. I know we're going to take some questions. I can say that deadlines on the SETA side have changed somewhat. You do have until the end of April to do your workplace skills plan. The unfortunate part is that we have to get the discretionary grant funding applications in by the 14th of March, which is now. So if you are interested in moving forward, we obviously need to move quite quickly. It's not our deadlines, it's set by the wholesale and retail SETA. We are very deadline driven. I think the team sometimes wonders why do they want to always be sitting with all these deadlines all the time? Because there are a lot of deadlines and we're having to work against those all the time, and we'll try and assist you as best as possible to reach those deadlines. But ideally we need to do our training needs, WSPs and discretionary grant funding applications by the 14th of March for your businesses. Be that service stations, be that supermarkets, wherever you sit. So yeah, I'm going to take a couple of questions. One of the people that I also just wanted to make mention of today, one of the retailers that's actually been in the PetroConnect journey for a while. She's celebrating 1 year at her site today, Astron Wonder Park. So yeah, Natasha's with us today as well. So yeah, well done to her. So she's been on quite a journey, and I think for her to even make it here today is quite an achievement, Natasha. So well done. Questions maybe. Any questions from the floor, and then we can also do questions from online. We're going to have another mic. Sponella will answer the questions. I was just going to do the presentation.
Hi, good morning, Mark. Great presentation and very, very insightful. My question is around when is the best time for a business person to approach the likes of PetroConnect to take advantage or to utilize everything that you presented? Because listening to you, it sounded like you were talking to existing business people, but if one is to start a business on day one and they've just acquired it, when is the perfect timing to get these systems in place and to utilize what the W&RSETA is offering?
Sure. So when you've got a business now that's just started paying its levies, unfortunately, the funding isn't going to come through immediately. It's normally after 12 months of running that business that you're going to be able to get the funding, because that 1% SDL levy had to have been paid. There has to be proof of the fact that these SDL levies are being paid. You obviously pay them to SARS, and then it gets from there, it gets channeled across to the correct SETA that it's registered for. So yes, it's after 12 months. If you do have another entity that's been in business for 12 months, we can obviously do registrations on those. Other programs that are obviously not through the SETA, those are other programs like we're talking about, or that I was referring to earlier, UIF program. We are able to help with those types of programs. So yes, we definitely can. But unfortunately, there does need to be, when it comes to the W&RSETA and putting our applications in for WSPs, it needs to be at least 12 months. I think there was another question somewhere in the room. I'm not sure if they're here online.
Good morning. Thanks, Mark. I've been with Garage Show for the past 12 years. So I think I do qualify. But what would you need from me? Do you want me to produce a proof of the policy for me to qualify for all these beautiful things that you're saying are for free? And I want to be sure when I live here, is it really, really for free?
You want to get a recording, eh? You must put the camera on her, make sure it's recorded.
Sure, because I'm after you.
Yeah, so we'll be able to, we will be doing calls with everyone, but if you want to just say up front, yes, because then we can make you at the top of the list of calls. You get free lunch. So, yes, what we would do is you'd basically be added onto the system where we then start a training needs analysis and do the workplace skills plan with you. So, yes, and you would qualify. It's completely free.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for the mention earlier on. I owe my entire journey to PetroConnect, so I'm a big fan. Thank you for your presentation as well. I just want to understand the timeline, please. So we're saying that when it comes to the W&RSETA, that let's just say that the application concludes at the end of April. When will we, if we're looking at unemployed individuals, for example, when will we be able to get them on site? And then, so that's the first question. And then, if we're looking at complementing this with the UIF unemployed individuals, so I just want to get the actual timeline.
So, in essence, we do have until the end of April to do workplace skills plans. But unfortunately, because of this timeline being moved forward in terms of discretionary grants, that's 14th of March. So we need to get your discretionary grant applications in. If you can just mute that, Mark. So by the 14th of March, we have to get our discretionary grant, and unfortunately, the WSP is part of that when they assess the discretionary grant funding. They need to see that you've got a workplace skills plan. So they need, basically, the SETA needs to understand, have you got a plan of action? What is your plan of action? Who are you looking for? Why are you looking for them? And we do that submission, right? So that's really by the 14th of March. As much as the workplace skills plan deadline is the 30th of April. It doesn't mean you're going to miss it now. Unfortunately, the discretionary grant period, if you do miss that, you miss it. But there will be other ones opening, but you might not get those learners then as quickly because that funding window would be closed. The workplace skills plan must go in order to also get your mandatory grants back, the 20% of the 1%. When it comes to learners on site, you'll be looking plus minus the range of about September. Why I'm saying September is that the plan goes in. SETA has to obviously go and look at all the plans of every retailer across the country. So that takes a couple of months to then come back and say, here's your award letters. So if the cutoff was end of April, you're going to get feedback, let's say June, okay, that the feedback will come. June, July. Your feedback comes and says, yeah, you've got 10 learners, 10 unemployed, 5 employed as an example. Okay. There's still other benefits to the short skills programs. You're going to get benefits from those with some of your staff on top of those learners. Then we obviously have to do the recruitment process. Get the award letter. You get an award letter to sign that, to say, I agreed to this, that funding is going to be paid across. And at the end of the day, then we have to start with recruitment processes and bringing those learners onto site. We'll also need to do a tranche claim. So your first tranche claim of stipends. So how the SETA works is you get 6 months of stipends up front. Okay, so if we say we got 10 learners on the site and they're going to get anything between 3,500 and 4,500 rand per learner. So it depends on what NQF level the course is going to be. So, if the person has a post-matric qualification, they could actually qualify then for higher NQF, so they could get an NQF level 4 certificate in retail management or generic management as an example. That 4.5 times 10 times 6, then be paid out. So then you've got 6 months. We like to work our data such that money, as the money comes in, we start. So if there's any delays, we obviously don't want you to be out of pocket. I do want to say there can sometimes be the odd challenges when it comes to payments. It's not necessarily that it's an ongoing thing, but of course payments have to come through as timelessly as possible. The SETA is constantly working on systems to make payments as quickly as possible. There's monitoring and evaluation. There's all sorts of things that happen during the course of this program to get your next tranche and your next tranche. As an example, if you're going through that first 6 months and you have a dropout, so let's say you've got 10 learners, 2 drop out, there has to be a write back on those 2 people. So they'll be paid up until they leave, but of course now you've got the money for that 6 months. Okay, you can't just now chow that money. That's 6 months now. You've got someone who maybe has not been in the business for 2 months. There may be a write back of that, but of course, your tranche 2, you're going to be getting more. So it would be basically you're getting tranche 2 minus maybe 2 of those learners that have dropped out. So in essence, you can gauge around that sort of month, and hence why I'm saying if you can bring on the UIF in between, it means that you can see learners in your site immediately, that you don't have to wait this whole year out. Those learnerships, or rather skills programs under the UIF program, you're not going to get the tax benefits, unfortunately. You will get because it's a 6-month program. Learnerships are 12 months. That's the only time that you're going to see tax benefits. But you are going to get the learners. You are going to get paid for staff in your employ. Then the learners, the next set of learners can start later, which, as I'm referring to, can gauge around the September month. But we would have to work in conjunction with you to make sure that it works for you. The payments are coming through. When is the award coming through? We have to work with SETA's timelines. I mean, this 14th of March wasn't totally expected, so we have to sort of work around timelines, and we'd have to communicate with you at all times if there's any changes. Hope that helps.
Yes, Mark. Yeah, sorry, you partly answered my question about the stipend.
Okay.
Just a quick one. Is the UIF stipend the same, more or less the same as the W&RSETA?
It's slightly less. It is slightly less than the W&R stipends, the 2,000 Rand stipends that are paid to learners. So we try and assist you with sort of when the learners are going to be placed, how much time they work, and we can obviously go into a lot more detail with you on that to make sure that we have as little dropouts as possible. Because that is obviously from UIF. It's not our we don't obviously say how much it's going to be, but we would have to manage that to make sure that we have as little dropouts as possible. They can be replaced though. So if you say to me, I need 50 learners, we can give you 50 learners, and if you say 5 dropped off, using argument's sake, month 2, we can replace those 5. With the SETA program, if they're on learnership and you say there's 10, we can't replace. We have to keep those 10 and make sure those 10 complete. We do, on top, all the dropout rates, we're always finding new ways of trying to manage that to make sure that we don't have dropouts. For example, one of the things that we do have as PetroConnect Academy is have a WhatsApp line that actual learners can WhatsApp and say, maybe they're battling with something on site and they just don't want to go and talk to a supervisor. They would actually be able to message us directly and say, hey, I've got this problem, this, that, the other. And we can just manage that person to say, right, let's talk to the employer. Let's make sure that dropout doesn't happen. Again, that's communication with the employer to say, hey, we have an issue here. Let's just make sure the dropout doesn't happen, because obviously it's going to affect your financial gain as well at the end of the day.
Hi, Mark. Following on the dropouts, the catchment, would you be taking people that are close to the business so that we can mitigate the dropouts there?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's a massive part of our recruitment strategy. So recruitment is so important. Unfortunately, you do have learners that sometimes will say they live in Tembisa, yet, so you know the story.
We've experienced that, hence I'm asking.
So we're very clear on that one. And what we actually do is when we're on board, we actually issue a poster to all clients that they can put up at the site to say, if a CV gets dropped off, we know our CVs grow like this, right? I mean, if you say there's a position, I mean, if you see someone getting fired, by the next day, those CVs are there because the staff are saying, guys, there's a position available. So the CVs, what we try and manage is that it actually goes into a customer center of ours. So we've got a system, electronic system, where those CVs as well as the details of each of those learners get saved. So it's a little, I don't want to use the word, it's a siphoning tool, but it also means, have we got the right learners coming in? So I understand data, Wi-Fi, all these things are challenges in South Africa, right? But if you really want to be on a learnership, you're going to go make an effort to upload your CV, because we made it as simple as possible. You're going to go to the internet cafe down the road, you're going to do it, because you want to get on a learnership, you want to be employed, because we're trying to create employment. So they would then be in that area. So let's say your site is in Soweto, and we're saying it's in a certain part of Soweto. Soweto is massive. You'll have a certain part of Soweto, right? So let's say wherever they're from, right? Put that there. They would have to upload their CV, but they have to also put their area there. So when we speak to them, where are you from? Because then we know they actually came past the site. Yes, I know learners from time, or staff from time to time would go walking the streets kilometers just to look for a job, popping into every site in that area. But normally they would stay in their area. They're not going to go from Pretoria and start. They sometimes can go from Pretoria looking in jobs in Joburg, but we're going to pick that up quite quickly if they're now in the wrong area. Am I saying it's perfect? Can't say it's perfect, but we're trying to put all those mitigating factors in place because it is a challenge, and we did pick it up. And what we are finding with sites is that they've got this massive pile of CVs. How do you work through that to make sure you're getting the right kind of people? Is there a perfect tool for that? No. The UIF program, we do have other assessments that we try and do, like psychometrics, to try and test abilities, like cognitive ability and so on, just to see if they are going to be the right person for the role. I hope that answers it. Any other questions in the room, or do you want to, Sponelo wants to say something?
Thanks, Mark. I think for me it's just one last thing, perhaps just to emphasize, and often there is confusion here. I know we've been using the word free, but somebody is paying for these trainings, right? So W&RSETA is actually paying, but how does it work? So PetroConnect is not doing this for free. We get paid. So who pays us? It is W&RSETA. W&RSETA pay for every learner that we train. But how does the money flow? So the money doesn't flow from W&RSETA to us. So when we do a claim, we claim to W&RSETA on your behalf as a company. So the money actually does get paid to you. But please do the honors and pay it back to us. It's not all your money. So yours is the refund for the stipends that you've been paying. So assuming that you've been paying 3,500 stipends, 10 learners, that's 35,000 rand, maybe over 3 months, or whatever the case may be, plus. So when we invoice W&RSETA, it's stipends plus what we refer to as M&D, management and delivery. Simple put, training fees. You didn't do any training, we did. So please don't hog our money. Because often there's been a lot of fights now when we are now invoicing for the training fee, and then that money seems not to come back to us. So please, I'm just pleading with you, because I know we've been saying free, and when we now invoice that training fee, please don't say you said it's free. It is free to you, but W&RSETA is actually paying for it. Thank you.
There's one question there. Yes, sir.
Okay, Mark, just a question to you, as you guys also do a UI service provider in terms of the training. In terms of the 12th age, my understanding is that to claim that tax or tax rebate, you need to submit a signed contract from SETA for the learners.
Correct.
Is that the only document as a proof that you're doing training that need to be submitted, or there's any other document that you can use?
Now, there are a couple of other documents. There's other SARS forms that have to be filled in and signed off to actually be submitted. The contracts obviously have to also be submitted. So it's part of a small pack that has to go and a recon of all payments that were done. So there is a SARS document that has to be filled in together with that we fill in. And that's got to be from a training provider.
Just a follow-up then in your response. In terms of getting those contracts signed by SETA themselves, are you experiencing any challenges or delays on getting them signed? I'll tell you why I'm asking. We've been having an experience whereby our service provider is taking forever to get those documents, those contracts back from SETA, and the reasoning behind is that SETA takes forever to sign them.
Yeah, we haven't been having a challenge with getting contracts signed. When we've had to do 12H allowances, those 12H packs go. We haven't had to delay sending a 12H pack. So like now, if we've got Feb 2025, we need to get our packs out to our employers somewhere between the end of Feb and April. So we normally will do it over a 2-month period to make sure that everything's been pulled in and that gets sent. So we haven't really had challenges like that when it comes to 12H allowances being claimed for.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Mike again. I just want to bring something to your attention, and I would like the lady from W&RSETA to also listen. Martha. Hello.
Okay, she's hearing. It's fine.
I just want you guys to understand how much we are carrying when we take these students on. I've been taking these students since 2020. One of the challenges that we have is the late payment from W&RSETA. Also, we train these students when they are on site. For instance, we take them through first aid training, firefighting, and spill training, which we pay for. For instance, if I can give an example, first aid, it's 950 per person, which we have to pay. We buy uniform for them. The last time W&RSETA paid us for the uniform was in 2020. For the past 5 years, they've not given us money for the uniforms. All these monies we are paying towards the students. Yes, we appreciate the 3.5, which started last year. It was 3,000 before. We do appreciate that because it assists us to reduce our salary cost. But some of us, we don't only pay them the 3.5, we top it up because we understand that there's no one who can live on 3.5. I don't pay them 3.5. The same students. I pay them according to the hours they work on my site. And I just feel that nobody is meeting us halfway when it comes to other trainings that we're providing. Where can we claim for that? Because, I mean, firefighting is 650 per person. First aid is 950 per person. You know, it's just a lot. We are carrying a lot as dealers.
So I'll answer a couple of the questions. Martha might want to answer a couple. But in terms of those first aid firefighting, I'd like that to come up during a training needs analysis because we can actually apply for that because we have a lot of these qualifications internally as PetroConnect as a training provider that we are able to offer certain trainings. What then happens, obviously, that funding can come through back from SETA. So I understand that you might... Yeah, absolutely. And that has to have been through an application process from our side, particularly with the new systems like QCTO, and we have actually done that. So we would actually be able to add that. So that's one thing. Second thing, I understand the challenge on uniforms, that a retailer has to still pay for the uniforms of learners, but you're getting the stipend back. Unfortunately, that has, only Martha could maybe answer that, but it's quite a difficult one because it actually has been like that. But I understand it's a bit of a challenge that maybe SETA could look at in terms of uniforms. Payments, SETA might be able to answer those things. But yes, there have been challenges from time to time in payments. We can't deny that. They do have to be worked on. The SETA is at the moment trying to improve on certain systems, but it also comes down to people and the amount of people that are in certain departments. So one of the things that what we are trying to push as PetroConnect is to get these payment processes moving as quickly as possible. Can I stand up here and say there's a perfect solution? No, I'd be lying if I do. But to try and get it quicker and obviously having more retailers on board, we're able to push a lot more with SETA because we obviously are working very much in the retail space. But your concerns are very much valid. Maybe Martha can just...
Oh, wow. So it really is a pity that my colleagues who work in operations are not here. So I'm just a communications person, but I'm going to try and respond as best as I can. And I think Mark has responded to most of the questions. But what I would like to encourage the fuel retailers to do is that as a SETA, we have forums, right? Stakeholder forums, where we engage on challenges, but we also talk about solutions. Because let's be honest, some of the challenges that we experience as a SETA are as a result of our stakeholders. So as much as there are certain, challenges from our side, when it comes to payment, a payment is a two-way process. So sometimes there are delays because there are certain things that are not done as they should have been done, back and forths and all of that. Because if we can start analyzing each one of those challenges that you are mentioning, there could be reasons thereof, which I obviously will not be able to speak to as I stand in front of you right now. But I think it really is about that partnership, and you really need to also get that partnership and get involved. The challenges that you're also raising, they're quite valid, right? So we have platforms, like I've indicated. There are stakeholder forums. I think they see it every second month in Gauteng, where they discuss all of those operational challenges that you are experiencing as stakeholders, and you come and present them to the SETA. We do have our chief operating officer sometimes, being part of this engagement. We have our senior people, as in our senior regional managers, our provincial managers. They are part of those engagements. So they will be able to then take in that feedback and make sure that they address shortcomings where there are shortcomings, but also just highlight and so that you are aware of where the bottlenecks could be. So I think having that relationship with the W&RSETA is also very, very important. And I will encourage you that you become part of those engagements. So we have the stakeholder forums that we have every second month or so. We also have what we called a sector skills plan consultation sessions. So because as a SETA, we rely on the information that we get from you that informs the training, how we fund interventions. So if the fuel retail sector does not come through as part of that process to come and say, guys, these are our needs, these are our bottlenecks, we will not know. We will go with the majority. So whoever is there then represents the sector. And our priority will be based on this feedback that we receive. So be part of this engagement. Inform what needs to be funded. Tell us what are the challenges. So it really does not help when, we come into these forums, then there are challenges that are raised that we cannot resolve in here. But let's make it a partnership. Let's walk this journey together. So when we call you to a stakeholder forum, please come. Raise those issues in those platforms, because that's where they get to be addressed. So I think Mark has taken care of the other issues, but I think for me, I really just wanted to say, let's talk about the challenges so that we can find solutions. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Martha. I think we've got a couple of questions online. I see there's one at the back. Maybe we can just get to that one. Maybe while we're online, or you can ask any questions, Jonathan, while we get the mic to the back.
It's thank you very much. It's not a question. I think it's a comment and an appreciation. I think when government introduces some solutions in the country, there's some few people that see business opportunities and do that part of the work so that they earn whatever they've done. And I think for me personally, I'm appreciating this session because some of the things that my dear lady there who's in communications from the SETA has kind of clarified these forums that she's speaking about, we would not have known about it. So for me, it's an appreciation of this kind of a gathering that informs people, that informs the businesses of what is available, what the government speaks about, how it can be implemented. We all know how difficult it can be, in inverted commas. It can be very difficult to deal with government. It can be very difficult to get your VAT refunds, by the way, these days, not because of anything else, but because of the requirement of the people that, 29 years, I can't remember what's the right word is for it. But for me, it's an appreciation. It's really to say thank you so much for making this available. And for me, therefore, as an ongoing relationship is to say, how do we really get involved in terms of knowing? Because, like you said, there's different stakeholders. Oil companies, to be honest with you, are very interesting, and they're not part of this. And we happen to be part of this. The issue about uniform safety and all of that, it's mine to go back and manage. The oil company is not going to be part of it. Instead, possibly I'll be questioned if I'm not giving the person the uniform. So I think at the end of the day, from yourselves, from the SETA, I think it's also very important for the SETA especially to actually begin to find a way of engaging with the oil companies that are out there, because I think they are, I wouldn't say they are not interested, but possibly they are very interested but very busy. And yet they are a very significant stakeholder. To that comment, I wanted to also add to what my dear colleague here has mentioned. There is quite a lot of things that we need to cover at sites. And the question that I would possibly have raised would have been one that says, I've got a staff complement that are permanently employed by me. They are on my payroll on a monthly basis. Now I've got learners that are not part of my payroll. And as a result, there's other registrations, RMA, someone gets injured on site, and I've got to all of those things. And I think for me, it's all of those technicalities that actually have got to be integrated to making sure that all of this runs smooth, nobody feels shortchanged in the process, and nobody feels uninformed in the process. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Great. Do you want to just go through a question?
All right, thanks, Mark. Yeah, we do have a question that's come through from our Facebook live stream. But just before I get into that, I just quickly wanted to touch on the query which was raised earlier about how to join the development initiative through your insurance policy. Well, firstly, thank you very much for partnering with Garage for the past 12 years, because we really do appreciate that. And we've tried to make it quite easy to join the initiative. So either you can speak to your insurance broker and just ask them to add it onto the policy, or you can even speak to PetroConnect directly and just give your policy number, and it's as easy as that. Once you've done that, PetroConnect will then contact you and guide you through the process. So it really is nice and simple, and we even have registration forms here if you do want to get involved with the program. All right, so we have an online question. It's from Theo Bongani Maseko, and it was originally directed at myself, but my answer to this question would be I would approach PetroConnect, so I'm going to throw it to Mark. So Bongani, or Theo rather, says, how does one embark in the fuel business and get funding? And secondly, do you offer courses, and if yes, how does one apply? Thank you.
Cool, thanks for that. It was aimed at Jonathan. I was going to make him answer the question. So I know we've even got Nedbank representatives in the room today as well. But from a funding side of things, obviously does depend on the opportunity where the one is going for. And I don't want to get on a massive spiel about this because we're not here for this. But I mean, if there's a new to industry site, if you are looking for, if you've got a piece of land and you're going to be developing, or if it is an opportunity that maybe an oil company has put out and you're looking for funding on that particular opportunity, or be that a property owned site, obviously the bank is one of the first parties to turn to. We do assist with that. Part of PetroConnect services is legal services. Our two core offerings are our academy and our legal services offering, which we offer across to other franchises as well. So it's not just fuel, but fuel retail is our main franchise that we deal with. But we have legal offerings that then talk to those particular matters. So be that assisting with a funding application, be that assisting with sale agreements, be it assisting with any addendums, resolutions, anything that has to be done along the way, be that checking lease agreements. We have a legal division that actually handles that within PetroConnect. So it probably is best that he reaches out to PetroConnect, that we're able to then put him into the right path, because it does depend on what path the person is going, whether they're looking at their own land, whether they're looking at a site that they're now needing 20 to 30% worth of funding. Then we're obviously going to be able to put them onto our funding partners like Nedbank, who can then obviously assist that retailer going forward. When it comes to other programs, we do have our readiness program. We're actually moving the readiness program to be a lot more hybrid and online, in fact. There will be some practical. We've been running the readiness program quite successfully for the past few years. There's retailers in the room today that actually have done the readiness program and successfully now run their sites. So that readiness program is one of them that we ready retailers. And what that is really is about how do we give the ins and outs of the industry. It's not training to say every little bit is being covered. It's not replacing oil company training. It is literally to give the ins and outs, and sometimes it's fact-finding for a retailer, a new retailer. Sometimes it's actually to see, sure, maybe this is a lot more difficult than what I thought it was going to be. Maybe this is actually a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week business. It doesn't close at 6 o'clock in the evening on a Friday, and I come and I get back onto site at 8 o'clock on a Monday. The phone never switches off, ever. The phone just kind of becomes attached to you. If you're not at site, you need to be available. So in essence, we do offer those types of programs. So I just suggest he does reach out if there's anything else. Are there any other questions from the...
No, I think
Yes,
that was
there's
all
a-
the
sorry.
questions from online.
There's a question on Teams from Mahlatse. He says, can the SDF qualified from the W&RSETA help with services at PetroConnect, or it must be a SDF qualified by PetroConnect? Can the SDF qualified from W&RSETA help with services at PetroConnect, or it must be an SDF qualified by PetroConnect?
So the SDF, you have got primary and you've got secondary SDFs that can be appointed on someone's company, but normally what one would have sometimes as a primary SDF or a secondary SDF is someone who's actually helping with employment equity and those types of submissions. So normally you have got one SDF that will handle all your training needs. We are able to collaborate with other service providers where possible, depending on areas, depending on qualifications, but in essence, we have a lot of qualifications that we offer, and we're obviously able to bring other training providers where necessary, if required. So if the person wants to reach out to us, we are able to then just look at if there is a collaboration that can be done there, but at the end of the day, normally you have one SDF that handles training, your training needs, and obviously we put the WSP in. The W&RSETA will only look at one WSP. You can't have two workplace skills plans being submitted by two different service providers. Anything else from online? And then I think there's one more in the room. Okay, online we're good. Anyone else in the room that would like to ask any questions? Happy. Jonathan, I'll hand over to Jonathan now, but again, just thank you to all of you for being part of today, and thank you to all our partners and stakeholders on this journey. I think we've all been on quite a journey, but particularly to the Wholesale and Retail SETA, Garage Show, One Show, obviously being big partners within the industry as a whole, to Nedbank as well. Nedbank's economist is also going to be speaking just now, and also just a big thanks to Sipe, who's been also on our road shows from our team, and then to all our team that's obviously listening in today. We talk about all these wonderful things, but the team also needs to be there to assist us along the way in terms of making all these things a reality on the ground. So thank you to them as well. Thanks very much to you all.
Thanks so much, Mark. All right, everyone. If you have a look on your desks, you're going to see a little green band like this. If you could please put this on. This is just to ensure that nobody else is going to be enjoying your refreshments and your lunch, and most importantly, your coffee, because that's when things get quite serious. So if you wouldn't mind, please putting those on. We are going to have a short break now for you to fill up on coffee and snacks. So the time is now 11:40. Because we are running a little bit behind schedule, may I please ask that we are all back in at 11:50 so that we can continue with our presentations. Thank you very much.